Alright, YouTube. I'm back again. What's another live video, and I'm trying my best for once and for all to finish this book because it was long. It's a lot of shit that angered me in this book. It's a lot of shit that made me sad in this book. It's a lot of shit that made me remember my own life in this book. So I'm trying my best to get through this book. And this is in Rest in Power, The Enduring Life of Trayvon Martin by by Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin. I'm trying my best to get through this book and finish it. I don't really have that many pages left. But it do seem like a lot. After a year and a half of searching for answers and demanding justice in the killing of our son, the man who admitted to shooting Trayvon was found not guilty of second-degree murder, not guilty of manslaughter, not guilty of anything. Those two words fell burnt into my brain, not guilty, and forever piercing my heart. And forever pierced my heart. Judge Nelson released Zimmerman's bond and informed him that his GPS tracking device would be removed, and he was free to go. You have no further business with the court, said the judge. The killer only blinked. Then, as the news sunk in, he flashed a big grin. Hugs and handshakes from his defense team encircled him, while our side said nothing. No, the television station cut to a scene in front of the courthouse. No note screamed the protesters. As the news of the verdict circulated, many hung their heads and cried. I didn't remember anyone saying anything in my sister's funeral room that evening. I don't remember any of. I don't even remember us talking about it. I know I didn't say anything. I was just numb. The verdict didn't make me happy or sad. It just confirmed the fact that I felt that the justice system was not equal and the justice system does not work for African Americans. It also sent a message that you can shoot and kill someone that's unarmed and just trying to get home, and you can get away with it. Tracy and I tweeted messages to our supporters. Lord, during my darkest hour, I lean to you, I wrote. You are all that I have. At the end of the day, God is still in control. Thank you for all your prayers and support. I will love you forever, Trayvon, in the name of Jesus. Even though I am broken and hearted, my faith is unshattered. Tracy tweeted, I will always love you, my baby Trey. While those outside the courthouse tried to make sense of the verdict, both the defense and the prosecution held press conferences, flanked on both sides by her prosecutors, Guy and De La Rionda. Corey spoke first, repeating her promise to seek the truth, to get both sides of the story and present the facts in court. As Mr. Guy told the jury yesterday, to the living we owe respect, to the dead we owe the truth. She said, we have been respectful to the living. We have done our best to ensure due process to all involved. And we believe that we brought out the truth on behalf of Trayvon Martin. She thanked the media and her team of lawyers and assistants, and she gave her sympathy to us as a family before turning over the lectern to De La Rionda. I am disappointed, as we all are, with the verdict, but we accept it. He said matter-of-factly, we live in a great country that has a great criminal justice system, he said. It is not perfect, but it's the best in the world, and we respect the jury's verdict. Fuck out of here. The guy was more emotional. He didn't have much to say, but what he did say was delivered in the same passionate style he had used in the courtroom. We have from the beginning just prayed for the truth to come out and for peace to be the result. And that continues to be our prayers. And we believe they have been answered. Richard Mancy, who played a small role in the trial, focused his comments on our family thanking us for how we handled ourselves throughout the case. They've been dignified. They show class. He said they have kept their pain in check when they needed to, and they have grieved when they needed to. It can't have been easy, and it won't be easy. I know you all have a job to do, but when you approach all that, keep them in mind too. Our attorneys held a press conference of their own that night, although they were still all still numb and reeling from the rendering of the not guilty verdict. The next morning, I called Crump and told him that not guilty verdict was not the end of our fight for justice. If not for Trayvon, then for other people's children. It was only another beginning. Our attorneys became our voice after the verdict. They were swamped with media requests from around the world, and we all had, I don't know why, a responsibility to use that moment to send a positive message, to bring a message and hope for a better future for the Trayvons yet to be born. We had an international audience interest in knowing what happened to my son and what would happen next after the not guilty verdict. Shit, ain't nothing to happen because at the end of the day, they did y'all dirty. That's pretty much what they did. They did y'all dirty. Attorneys Crump, Parks, Jackson, and Rand all did dozens of interviews for 3 days straight. Parks said he did 13 interviews on a Sunday after the verdict alone, saying show after show that the jury couldn't see Trayvon as a child and that the defense put Trayvon on trial, but the prosecution didn't put the killer on trial. The killer was portrayed as a good guy, the helpful, friendly neighbor to people in the community, while Trayvon was incorrectly portrayed as a thug. They were on every major American network, including CNN and MSNBC and Fox. and on international networks too, reaching audience as far away as Australia and Japan. Jasmine Rand speaks Spanish, so she also did appearances updating the Spanish-speaking world on Telemundo and other stations that broadcast in Central and South America. Our attorneys continue to be our voice, telling the world that a not guilty verdict did not mean George Zimmerman was innocent and that the verdict was a report card on the status of racial equality in our nation. While we have failed to deliver the equality promised in our Constitution, under no circumstance would we give up fighting for justice and equality for the other Trayvon Martins in the world. The defense put Trayvon on trial, and now our nation had been put on trial by the global community that, like our family, was not willing to accept that an adult man could shoot an unarmed 17-year-old walking home from a Korean store in a hoodie and walk away free. Outrage over the verdict spread worldwide and living rooms, on streets, and even stages. The singer Beyonce took a moment of silence for Trayvon at a concert in Nashville, and then sang a chorus of "I Will Always Love You," a Dolly Parton song made popular by Whitney Houston. Stevie Wonder announced that he would not play another concert in Florida until the state government repealed its stand your ground law. Florida still hasn't repealed the law. In Limerick, Ireland, Bruce Springsteen dedicated the song "American Skin" 41 shots, a song inspired by the 22-year-old unarmed Bronx man who died after four plainclothes police officers fired 41 shots at him. To Trayvon saying, "I want to send this one out to as a letter back home for justice for Trayvon Martin. I looked up the song and the lyrics stopped me cold. They reminded me of what my mother taught me, what I taught Trayvon, and the unfair burden put on some Americans because of the presumption of guilt that follows them. If an officer stops you, promise me you'll always be polite." Even President Obama issued a brief statement shortly after the verdict, asking for a calm reflection and to ask ourselves if we doing all we can to widen the circle of compassion and understanding in our own communities. I went to sleep that night feeling hopeless, feeling angry, hurt, and more than a little disgusted, and most of all, wondering what to do next. In the following days, so many people will come to our side, lending their voices, their support, their anger, and their rage. Beyonce and Jay-Z joined the Just for Trayvon Vigil in New York City. Jay-Z and Justin Timberlake dedicated a rendition of the song "Forever Young" to Trayvon in a concert at Yankee Stadium. 6 days afterward, at 11:33 p.m., President Obama addressed the press and the nation about Trayvon's case and the issue of race. It was a 17-minute monologue that spoke volumes and will, in my mind, go down in history as one of the most eloquent statements about race in America. When Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son. He began. Another way of saying that is Trayvon Martin could have been me 35 years ago. There are very few African American men in this country who haven't had an appearance. I said appearance, I mean experience. That's because this book is so damn long. I'm over here saying the wrong words. Being fouled when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me. There are very few African American men who hadn't had the experience of walking across the street and hearing the locks click on the doors of cars. That happens to me, at least before I was a senator. There are very few African Americans who hadn't had the experience of getting on an elevator and a woman clutching her purse nervously and holding her breath until she had a chance to get off. That happens often. And I don't want to exaggerate this, but those sets of experiences inform how the African American community interprets what happened one night in Florida. And it's inescapable for people to bring those experiences to bear. How do we learn some lessons from this and move in a positive direction? The president asked, urging protesters to take a non-violent path. If I see any violence, then I will remind folks that this honors what happened to Trayvon Martin and his family, he said. But beyond protests or vehicles, the question is, are there some concrete things that we might be able to do? Number one, precisely because law enforcement is often determined at the state and local level, I think it would be productive for the Justice Department, governors, mayors to work with law enforcement about training at the state and local levels in order to reduce the kind of mistrust in our system that sometimes certainly exits. Is all this about what Obama said? Okay. Number one, what? Now I forgot where I was at. Number one, precisely because law enforcement is often determined at the state and local level. I think it would be productive for the Justice Department, governors, mayors to work with law enforcement about training at the state and local levels in order to reduce this kind of mistrust in the system that sometimes currently exists. This would include training people, training the police departments across the state on how to think about potential racial bias and ways to further personalize what they were doing, he said. Along the same lines, I think it would be useful for us to examine some state and local laws to see if they are designed in such a way that they may encourage the kinds of altercations and confrontations and tragedies that we saw in the Florida case rather than diffuse potential altercation. Okay, majority of this is just what Obama said. Okay, as for senior ground law, the president has what kind of message is being sent if someone who is armed potentially has the right to use a firearm, even if there is a way for them to exit from the situation. Is that really going to be contributing to the kind of peace and security and order that we like to see? And for those who resist the idea that we should think about something like these stand your ground laws, I just ask people to consider if Trayvon Martin was of age and armed, could he have stood his ground on that sidewalk? And do we actually think that he would have been justified in shooting Mr. Zimmerman, who had followed him in a car because he felt threatened? And if the answer to that question is at least ambig- ambiguous, ambiguous, I don't fucking know, then it seems to me that we might want to examine those kinds of laws. Number three, and this is a long-term project. We need to spend some time in thinking about how we bolster and reinforce our African American boys. And this is something that Michelle and I talk a lot about. There are a lot of kids out there who need help, who are getting a lot of negative reinforcement. And is there more that we can do to give them the sense that their country cares about them and values them and is willing to invest in them? This country don't care about nobody. Everywhere you fucking go, you see kids in groups walking the fuck around. Most of them probably ain't got a mama or a daddy. They probably ain't got no motherfucking guardians. They just walking the fuck around. You got kids homeless. You got motherfuckers that's out here just walk around with no respect in the world. Then you got the ones that have respect and they find themselves in tough situations they trying their best to get out of. But at the end of the motherfucking day, this world see our black asses as motherfucking thugs, gangsters. It's a motherfucking point. They show us every motherfucking day how they see black people. We barely even get fucking positive roles in movies. But and it's sad to say, and a lot of people may take this the wrong way. I don't give a fuck because I'm gonna just speak the goddamn truth. You barely even get good roles in fucking movies. Even in the movies where the black people are fucking lawyers and they own their own businesses and shit like that, it's still negativity in the movie. TV shows included. They show us and look at all these motherfucking slavery movies they still making. I'm to the point I don't even want to watch movies no more because there's always some crazy shit happening. Look at them, they still making crazy ass movies about purges and fucking just weird shit. Tsunamis happening, crazy ass hurricanes, movies about the world ending, all types of crazy shit. And then you go on motherfucking TikTok, they over here talk about some that Simpsons episodes is predicting the future. And everything that they see on the Simpsons is actually happening. And then finally, I think it's going to be important for all of us to do some soul searching. There, there has been talk about whether we should convene a conversation on race. I haven't seen that be particularly productive when politicians try to organize conversations. They end up being stilted and publicized, and folks are locked in to the positions they already have. On the other hand, in families and churches and workplaces, there's a possibility that people are a little bit more honest, and at least you ask yourself your own questions about: Am I wringing as much bias out of myself as I can? Am I judging people as much as I can based on not the color of their skin, but the content of their character? That would, I think, be an appropriate exercise in the wake of the tragedy. All right, what else? See, the more I read, the more I get tired of reading. I ain't never gonna lie to y'all. This book is long as hell. I had to take a break. It was all too surreal that our son's death had motivated an American president to finally speak about race issues that had so long been festering beneath the surface of life in this country. And let me just leave you with a final thought. He continued that as difficult and challenging as this whole episode has been for a lot of people, I don't want us to lose sight that things are getting better. I don't see how. Each successive generation seems to be making progress and changing attitudes when it comes to race lives. It doesn't mean we in a post-racial society, it doesn't mean that racism is eliminated. But when I talk to Malia and Sasha, and I listen to their friends, and I see them interact, they better than we are. They better than and we were on these issues. And that's true in every community that I visited all across the country. And so we had to be vigilant we had to work on these issues. He said, and those of us in authority should be doing everything we can to encourage the better angels of our future, and opposed to using these episodes to heighten divisions. And, but we should also have confidence that kids these days, I think, had more sense than we did back then, and certainly more than our parents did and our grandparents did. And that this long, difficult journey, we becoming a more perfect union, not a perfect union, but a more perfect union. The day after the verdict was a Sunday. I got up and went to my church, NTI Missionary Baptist Miami Gardens. I just thought it was important, especially on this Sunday. I wanted to clear my head and try to figure out my next steps and where I will go from this point forward. I was, of course, more than disappointed. I kept thinking about how people still judge African Americans as if they are already guilty, even in Trayvon's case and death. I kept thinking that there are so many times when no one knows who committed a crime, but in our case, we knew everything. Still, the killer walked free. I tried to not to bring those thoughts into church, but I knew God would give me unyielding spiritual strength. I have a regular seat in our church, midway pew, in the middle, surrounded by friends and family. But on this Sunday, I sat alone in the bed. As the choir began singing, I silently gave my thanks to God. Even the verdict was a kind of conclusion. That part I was glad about. I was sick of the trial, sick of going back and forth to Sanford, tired of the endless process and the slow grind to justice. The verdict at least offered the end to it, all of that. The end of the trial, even if it wasn't the outcome we had fought so hard to bring about. I sat through the service, praying, grieving, giving thanks to God, and trusting that He would, as always, guide my path. Then I went home, back to my purple bedroom. The numb feeling had returned. Once again, it was an out of body experience, a feeling that the jury's verdict, like Trayvon death, wasn't real, and I would wake up from this nightmare in the morning and things would be back to normal. But the next morning only brought more of the same. The phone began ringing. Crump, as always, asking me to come forward with statements, interviews, media appearances. The media is trying to get in touch with you, and they want you to make a statement. He said, listen, the television shows that were eager to speak with Tracy and me and pushing us to make a comment about the verdict. I wasn't ready. I didn't think we should jump right out there again. Not yet. Not when we were so emotional. Not when we were so bitter. I need time, Crump. I said, I think we should have some time so we don't say anything that we'll regret later. I'm not the kind of person to just give voice to every violent or angry thought that passes through my mind. That's not who I am, but that's how I felt at that moment. My emotions were high, my feelings were ugly. I wasn't thinking about what to say publicly. I was thinking about what to do. My son was dead and the killer was free. Those were the facts. No turning back the clock. How could I turn my anger to action? How could we honor Trayvon in death and create a legacy where there was once a life? I don't know why he want them to do interviews anyway. They already got the answer. I thought the best way was through the Trayvon Martin Foundation. We created in the agonizing months after Trayvon's death. Donations would come in through a Miami Foundation, which handled the financial management. Our activities were limited to an annual remembrance dinner in a peace walk and peace talk, but we needed other programs to continue Trayvon's legacy and hopefully bring about change. We created a mission statement. The Trayvon Martin Foundation is dedicated to embracing social and civic changes for justice through awareness and senseless gun violence. We began meeting at Starbucks, in the Miami-Dade Public Library, and asking ourselves, how can we create programs to support families of gun violence, bring awareness of the effects of gun violence, and ultimately end gun violence before another child is killed. Then, slowly, deliberately, Tracy and I emerged. We had more to say. Oh, God. July 26th or Friday, I attended the National Urban League in the Pennsylvania Convention Center, where I was scheduled to give my first major speech after the verdict. It had been 13 days since the acquittal of the man who killed my son in the National Urban League, America's oldest civil rights organization, created in 1910 to enable African Americans to secure economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights, seemed the ideal place to speak. 6,000 people were in the audience that day in Philadelphia, including many of the leaders of the civil rights movement, Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson, National Urban League CEO Mark H. Morale. I was introduced in a powerful, surprising wave of applause washed over me. I placed my hand over my heart, and all I could say was, wow. I was emotional, but I was determined that the audience wouldn't see the broken Sabrina. I was determined to show them the woman that had once been broken, but who had somehow been able to get back up. The Sabrina who couldn't get out of her bedroom had been reborn. I was no longer walking alone. I was now the voice for Trayvon. Let me start because I had to put God first. I began. Need to tell you my favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. And it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. I pause. Let me just say that I stand here before you today only through the grace of God, only because of the spirit that lives within me. I can say because as a mother, Sabrina couldn't do it. Sabrina could not lose her baby. Sabrina could not lose one of her children. It's only through God that I stand before you today. As I said before, Trayvon was my son, but Trayvon is also your son. That massive audience, that massive audience applaud again. Just ask you as a mother to wrap your mind around what has happened. Because I speak to you as Trayvon's mother, I speak to you as a parent, and the absolutely worst telephone call you can receive as a parent is to know that your son, and you will never kiss again. I'm just asking you to wrap your mind around that. Right, your man, your wrap your mind around no problem for Trayvon. I said no high school graduation for Trayvon, no college for Trayvon, no grandkids coming from Trayvon, all because of a law that has prevented the person who shot and killed my son to be held accountable and to pay for this awful crime. What is my message to you? I ask. My message to you is please use my story, please use my tragedy, please use my broken heart to say to yourself, we cannot let this happen to anybody else's child. And the applause grew louder. And I hope I delivered that message. I continue because on the way here, I gave the driver. Yeah, what you need? You need a what? Hold on. Oh shit. What the hell? This is. I gotta wash this all over again. I watched this to get one stain out and more stains added. I'll be right back, y'all. Move, look, yeah. Yo, I'm surprised the laptop ain't go dark, but I just went outside real quick, and let me tell y'all, I don't know what the Fahrenheit is, but it's too hot to be jumping in. What's that thing called? The bouncy house, the bouncy bag house, whatever the thing is. So they got one. They got one right on the side of the Poppy store. Well, not really on the side, but like it's in the middle of the street going to the Poppy store. As I was looking, and I mean, they got the pool, they got the bouncy house thingy. I know they hot. You see all these little kids just bouncing up and down, and you got some in the pool. Couldn't have been me. I would have kept my ass in the house. Let me know when the hot dogs and hamburgers done. I wasn't. I don't ever think I was the type of kid who cared for stuff like that. Now the pool, yeah, all that bouncy house stuff, I didn't care for stuff like that. When I was around that age, I was riding bikes, walking up and down the block, dancing, trying to make friends in the neighborhood. I didn't care about all that bouncy house stuff. When I was a kid around that age, to be honest, I wanted to be at my great grandparents' house. I didn't really. Oh shit! I'll be back, y'all. Here we go. What did he want?